everybody, it's Mrs. Lasky. Welcome to week 3 Essentials Recap. I want to go over with you a few things that we've been doing in class so that you can understand what we did in week 3. Let's get started. So on the board, when we entered class, I had a review question up and it was, what are the 5 parts of a sentence? And we reviewed those and we found out that they were the subject, the verb, end mark, capital letter, and making complete sense. We then segued into understanding that the subject is also known as what part of speech, and we discovered it was a noun. Nouns are what we are learning about this week. Nouns are a very special and very important part of the sentence that tell us what we're talking about. Instead of being the verb, which gives action, we're talking about what is doing the action. So we decided to open up chart E, which I have right over here to the left on your screen, and we discovered that there are lots of different noun usages. So we first identified and named what a noun was. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. I got out my special board. I actually have it right over here with me. Get it back out. And we did our Spidopona, our Spidey noun, okay? So our Spidey noun is gonna help us to remind us, it's gonna help remind us all of the things a noun does. S-P-I-D-O-P-O-N-A. Those are the 9 different things a noun can do and how they can act, their uses. So let's go through it. I made a funny little song that goes along with it. So forgive me for my off key and for my bad lyrics, but it's really funny. So spider noun, doing things only nouns can, naming persons, places, activities, things, and ideas. If you've ever seen a really bad episode of, I think it's on The Simpsons, that's where that's from. So I'm not advocating for watching The Simpsons, but anyway, it reminded me of how funny that name is. So Spidopona is the name of your Spidey noun. And when you have a Spidey noun, you can remember that noun or that spiders have 8 legs and you just add that 1, making it very extra special. Okay. Then we went through all of the noun usages. Okay. So remember, you want to make this chart E something in memory. You want to be able to memorize that chart completely and you want to know the definition of a noun. So keep going back to that. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. Then when we get into those uses, you can see over here, we have these Spido on the side, and then we have the few other ones down below. So we're going to go through those with examples. So the first use is a subject noun, SN. When we start diagramming our sentences, we're going to label our SN, our subject noun. That's the subject. And if it's a noun rather than a pronoun, we'll put SN, okay? That example is the spider is scary. The spider is the subject noun in this sentence. Then we have I saw that wrong. Then we have the possessive noun adjective. So I have to add adjective in here. So this one gives us a little bit of possession when we're talking about a noun and it becomes used as an adjective. So the spiders, that's the possessive noun adjective, legs are long. So you can see the apostrophe on that spider, apostrophe S, that tells you that it's a possessive. That means it shows ownership over that noun, which is the legs. All right, then we also have indirect object. That's the I. I gave the spider it's supposed to say a hug. No, a bug. I messed up on my own sentence. Sorry, guys. I gave the spider a bug. Now, this sentence sounds weird, but we have some spider webs outside of our door, and my son keeps giving the spider bugs to try and eat. It's kind of funny. So I gave the spider, which is our indirect object, a bug. Okay, then we go on to direct objects. I like spiders. Spiders is the direct object. Then we have object of the preposition. I am afraid of spiders. Of is a preposition, and we are afraid of those spiders. Predicate nominative. I am a spider. That would be funny, but usually for Halloween, we dress up. So maybe someone is saying, I am a spider for Halloween or whatever. This is showing that the word spider can move around to the predicate nominative area. Then we have object complement noun. I called the spider my pet. Okay. I called, what did we, object complement noun shows who we are giving or telling or calling something. And it only goes to specific verbs. So we'll learn more about that later. Then we have noun of direct address. This is when you might not see the actual noun you're referring to in the sentence. So you might see a sentence like, go away, and you're talking to the spider. So your noun is actually spider, but it's not actually seen in the sentence. That's why I have that in parentheses. Then we finally have an appositive, AP. The bug, a hairy spider, was bigger than my hand. So that a hairy spider is an appositive noun phrase. And that is used in situations where we're giving more information and using it to describe things. Okay. So I want you to go in, and when you first look at chart E, I want you to begin practicing it. So in class, I handed out everyone a chart E. You can go ahead and print copies of this, or you can make it on your own. You don't even need a copy. You can just literally take your own chart E, turn it over, and you can copy it by just writing down all of the things in those boxes. You can make your own box. We do that a lot at home. You can even start just remembering a noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. That's something that you can get started on. Then when you go in and start copying this chart, start with the first portion and then move on to the second portion. Okay. So maybe one day this week, you will completely copy all of that top portion. SPIDO, Spido, Pona, PONA. So subject, noun, possessive, noun, adjective, indirect object, direct object, object of the preposition, predicate, nominative, object, complement, noun, noun of direct address, and the appositive. So that is going to help you remember those 9 different things. Okay. Then you get to go into the next part of that chart. So we're going to move on down this page here. And this is our noun attributes. This is the most fun part of naming nouns because we get to talk about all the things that are nouns and how they're differently described. So a common noun, as you can see in the lower part of chart E, is names a non-specific person, place, thing, activity, or idea, and it is not capitalized. Okay. So some common nouns we came up with in class are house, store, and tree. Then we have proper nouns. So imagine you're going to the Queen's Castle in England. You have to be very proper. You have to say, yes, madam, no, madam. You have to put the capital on to make it proper. Okay. So this would be a name like Frederick or Jimmy, a place like Walmart, Meijer, or Target. This is also a thing, activity, or idea that is very specific. Okay, so location like Denali, an activity like classical conversations. That's an activity that we go to, or Awana, or something else like that. Yeah, so those are all proper. So that's a very specific. These are ways to describe a noun. Then we have number, okay? That goes into singular or plural. So singular means one, plural means more than one. We have singular nouns such as person, cow, cat, dog, not a cog, excuse me, you're helping me catch all my typos, and duck, okay? So those are all the singular nouns. If you add an S, or change up the way that you say those same nouns and make them more than one, you can get lots of plural nouns. People, cows, stores, dogs, squids, chairs, and dice. We also had die up here, so I'll put that one up. As in like the die. Yeah, they keep changing it to proper nouns. All right, then we have concrete versus collective. We have concrete versus abstract, and then collective and compound. These are all the types of nouns. So a concrete noun is something that you can touch, you can smell, you can taste it, you can feel it, you can hear it. These would be like food, water, candy, paper. Abstract nouns are things that you cannot touch. You can, it's a concept, quality, or condition that cannot be experienced with the 5 senses. So like love. We had a really angry class last week, so they thought of revenge and hatred, and then some mom brought in enlightenment. So this is a really good thing to think of things that you don't really get to experience, but you might know about it. So joy, what else? Yeah, sadness, things like that. Then we have collective. So this tells us something that is in a group. So we have a group, we have range of mountains, we have murder of crows, we have pack of wolves, soccer team, anything that brings something together and makes it seem more of a group, okay? It's a group composed of members, functions as a singular noun and takes a singular verb. So if, in example, the mountain range was very big. So even though you can envision multiple mountains in that mountain range, it's one mountain range. And if you were to add to the mountain ranges, so if you went through the entire thing of a mountain range and there was multiple components to that, you could say the mountain ranges were and add on a plural verb, okay? Then finally, our last attribute, it's a type and it's called compound. This is two words that combine together to make one noun. So butterfly, we were thinking that butter and fly came together to make butterfly. I looked that up and I haven't been able to find a definitive answer. So some of us in class, I think Cece mentioned that, and I still have not found out if that is a true compound noun, but we're going to call it one just until we find otherwise. Then we have mountaintop. So mountain and top comes together to make mountaintop. Playground, play and ground come together to make playground. Rooftop, roof and top come together to make rooftop. Ladybug, again, come together to make lady and bug come together to make ladybug and mailbox, okay? This is the last portion of this chart. Now, we also have some things that we can learn about gender. We did not discuss this in class because in the English language, we do not have things that go before the noun. So they're called cases. So we do not have, Latin has noun cases and we do not have, well, it's not cases, it's gender. It's literally the gender. What's the gender of a noun? So like in German, it would be der, die, and das. And I don't know what it is for Latin yet because I'm learning. There might not be one. I don't know. Forgive me. But when we are learning English, we don't have we don't change the way the looks to mean the butterfly. We just say the butterfly. We don't say the in a different way to make sure we know it's a female noun. Okay, so that's all that's talking about on the side of that over there. The only times that you might see that are with like actor and actress, or lion and lioness, or steward and stewardess. Those are things that we see there's a little bit of an ending change because of that being a feminine form of that same noun. So hopefully that makes sense. Make sure you look at that on chart E. Finally, the last thing we're going to cover is what it means to do your analytical task sheets. Now, this is a brand new concept, okay? I am going to move chart E down and I'm going to get the other thing up. 1 second. So we have our analytical task sheet. I handed this out during class. I have extra copies for our friends that missed. And I want to make sure we go over this and how to do it. Okay, so there are, oops, let me move this a little bit more. So our analytical task sheet, parents, you can turn to your parent guide. It's at the end portion. It briefly goes over, 1 second. 1 second here. I added some extra pages into my book because I want to be sure I did those things with you all in class. Okay. All right. So, yep. Analytical task sheet begins on page 62 in the parent guide. And then it's explained further. It's explained further on page 323. So parents, please look there if you need help. The analytical task gives us 5 different tasks to work on. We're only doing the first 3 for week 3, and it helps us to understand how we can use so many of our different things that we've already learned from chart A through E and make them into a very cool, lots of different ways to use our words and our parts of speech and parts of a sentence, okay? It helps us to edit as well. So all of you should have an analytical task sheet in your stuff. I gave everyone a gift in September of this beautiful task sheet. I'm going to move my face over here so you guys can see what I'm actually doing. All right. So the first step is we're going to dictate the sentence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the sentence is Jesus forgives. Okay. So when you're working at home, your parent is going to tell you the sentence. So parents, you're going to see the sentence on page 62 in your guide. It says Jesus forgives. So you're going to say that out loud to your student and have them write it down. So right over here, I would be adding in a little thing, a text box. I'm just going to write this here. Oops, isn't going to let me do it? Oh, here it is. I'll move it over here. So we would write it in, Jesus forgives. Then once you've done that, so if they write it with a capital letter, that's fine. If they don't, it'll be a question that we can ask to make sure that they've got all the parts of a sentence. And that's step 2. So once they write out the sentence on their own, you are going to go through step 2. Is there a subject? So you're going to ask the question, is there a subject? And then what is the subject in this sentence? It would be Jesus. Okay. So we know that's the subject. And on top of that, you could even write S for subject. Okay. And that would help us to remember that that is the subject. Okay. Then you can do the next one. Is there a verb? Yes, there's a verb. It's forgives. And you can write V on top of that for verb. Okay. And then it's going to get into the question, does it begin with a capital letter? My sentence does. Jesus is capital J. Good. So check mark that box. You figured that out. Then you're going to go to the next question. Does it have an end mark? Yes, there is a period at the end of this simple sentence. Okay. Then you're going to go and ask the question, does it make complete sense? Does this sentence, even though it's only 2 words, make complete sense? Jesus forgives. Yes, it makes complete sense. Then the question is, are there any other punctuation or capitalization that we need to check and correct? There aren't any other in this sentence, so we are good on that. And then finally, are all the words spelled correctly? I'm in step 2 right over here, checking the mechanics. So all the words are spelled correctly here. Then we're going to go to step 3, the final step we're going to be learning for this week. And we are going to ask some questions because we need to know if we have figured everything out and we've labeled it correctly. So I also have another really cool handout that I didn't give everyone in class. I could not find it during the day of class. So I just used the one that was at the last page of your parent binder. Has a really nice analytical task sheet. A question confirmation sheet that you can use. And then I also have this colorful one that gives numbers to the arrows, so it's easier to follow along with in class. So I'm going to put that right over here, and then we're going to do the steps together. All right, everybody. So I'm going to put this down so it's not distracting either. Okay, so we have our sentence, Jesus forgives. Then we're going to go into some of these questions, okay? So the first question is number 1, step 1, identify the independent and subordinate clauses. So an independent clause, remember, is anything with a subject and a verb. Okay, so this is our independent clause. Jesus forgives. All right. Your first step in any question confirmation for an analytical task sheet for diagramming sentences is going to begin with finding those independent clauses. Number 2, who, what is the sentence about? Answer is the subject. So ask the question, who is this sentence about? Your student will tell you it's about Jesus. Okay. So then if you didn't know before to put a subject up there, you get to label that with S. Okay. Sometimes kids can do that. Like my kiddo, he was able to figure out that the subject was Jesus and that the verb was forgives before we even went into the question confirmation section. So that's okay. And this will just help you confirm that those are the correct answers. You do not have to wait till this portion. It just really helps you to confirm. That's why it's called this question confirmation, to make sure that you got your diagramming correct. Okay. Then number 3, once you have subject labeled, you're going to go to number 3. What is being said about the subject? What is being said about Jesus? Okay, Jesus forgives. So forgives is what's being said about Jesus. Now that is the verb. So the answer to that question is verb. All right, number 4. Does anyone or anything receive the action of the verb? If it's a no, ask, is the subject being renamed by a noun or a pronoun? No, it's not being renamed in the predicate. It's not. So you say no, then you go down to number 6. Is the subject being described by another word? No. Then you know that the verb is intransitive. Okay. So that will bring you to SVI. That's your first pattern. So you can click check mark box on here that this is the correct pattern. Okay. You can also see that there's no fanboys and there's no whoich clause or www.asia.web, and that makes it a simple sentence. Okay. And then you can see that the purpose by the period is a declarative sentence. Okay. You can also say it's imperative either. Jesus forgives. You can tell them, he does this, in a stronger way. So you can make it either one of those. Then next week, we'll learn more about this step 4, but that's all you're going to have to work on for this week. So in your answer section, what's it called? Very specifically, I'm trying to use the correct names. It's called a English Language Solutions, the Essentials of the English Language Solutions Guide. You're going to have a few more sheets to practice on. So I'm going to tell you the page numbers right now. Oops, I already lost it. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So page 52, 53, 54, and 55 in those solutions manuals is going to be your questions for this week. So Jesus forgives was a sentence. Then we have Tom jumped. You can help them to diagram that. The volcano erupted and Caesar boldly invaded. Okay, so those are the 4 sentences for this week. What's really great in this answer guide is it tells you all of the answers. So you can just dictate it to your student, and then it'll have all of the questions on here that you need to go through. Okay, and when we get to diagramming, it even has diagramming on there. When you get to the modification, by changing it around to make the sentence different, it has those on there. It has the quid et quo on there, which we'll learn later as well. Okay, so that solutions manual is your ticket to freedom, is your way to figure out how to do this if you are like, whoa, I have no idea what's happening right now. If you have no idea what's happening right now, the biggest thing is to just go back, get your copy of this analytical task sheet out and do it with your student, and just go slowly, go nice and briefly through this. Right now, we're only working on those first 3 steps, and that's all you have to figure out for this week. Okay. So I try to keep this really brief. I feel like it's been a really long week 3 recap, but I want it to be very clear because we had a couple of friends not in class. So if you have any questions from this, I'm going to upload these 2 files along with that chart E, so everyone can have access to that onto the band, and this video will accompany it, as well as a essentials writing portion video as well. Okay, have a wonderful day. Bye. Okay, stop share and